What if your stillness isn't peace, but a body that learned to hide? Not all stillness is peace. Some stillness is wisdom, some is devotion, and some is fear. A freeze where the body learns not to reach, not to need, not to express, not to move. This is where Admetos lands for me. In astrology, Admetos points to blocks, delays, endurance, density, and the things that become fixed or held in place. But in healing terms, Admetos names something very specific, where stillness becomes holding, where endurance becomes identity, where life force doesn't vanish but retreats underground. In this episode, I want to treat Admetos as a doorway into the body, into the ways we adapt to contraction, and into the line between groundedness and freeze. And I want to open with this one question. What has the body held so long that the body no longer recognizes it as holding? Breathe into that question. Admetos is a fascinating point in astrology. It is one of the hypothetical points beyond Neptune that many astrologers use in midpoint work or Uranian style interpretation. Admetos is often associated with blocks, delays, standstills, inertia, endurance, stability, firmness, and what some might call brick wall energy, not only as obstruction, but as something solid, defended, or difficult to penetrate. It can describe the place where energy meets a wall, where movement slows, where the system goes still, but motion no longer feels available. Sometimes this looks like discipline, patience, or endurance. Other times it can feel like shutdown, when the body or psyche becomes dense, quiet, guarded, or unresponsive as a way of preserving itself. It may sound like, don't move yet, hold, wait, stay contained, don't let this out until it is safe. This is part of why Admetos feels different from eruption or crisis. It isn't necessarily the moment when something breaks open. It may be the moment before that, the moment when everything contracts, guards, waits, holds, or deeply contains. In a natal chart, astrologers who work with Admetos may look at it to a place where a person is deeply focused, stuck, resistant to change, or unable to build something durable over time. In difficult expressions, Admetos may symbolize rigidity, bottlenecks, isolation, delays, or feeling that something cannot move. But in a grounded or constructive expression, it can suggest patience, concentration, discipline, endurance, and the ability to build a strong foundation. So, Admetos asks, where is the energy stuck, condensed, or waiting? And I want to be careful with the word released because I feel that Admetos doesn't respond well to force. This isn't a point that says just break through it. For example, someone might think they are simply procrastinating when underneath the delay, there is a deeper compression happening. They may keep waiting until they know enough, feel ready enough, choose the perfect words, make the perfect plan, or become certain they will not fail. From the outside, it may look like avoidance, but internally, the system may be saying, not yet. I need more information. I cannot move until this feels safe. I cannot release this until I know it will be received. In that sense, Admetos may not only describe the block itself, but the pressure that builds around the block, the overthinking, the bracing, the self doubt, the holding pattern that keeps energy contained with no real relief. And this is definitely not the energy of pushing harder, demanding catharsis, or forcing the body into some dramatic spiritual release before it is ready. Admetos is slower than that, much older than that, more patient than that. Admetos can show tremendous endurance, containment, and the ability to stay with something long enough for it to mature. But in difficult expressions, it may feel like stagnation, delay, inertia, heaviness, suppression, or a state that has become so compacted that movement feels almost impossible. This is why I find Admito so helpful in embodied healing frameworks, because healing isn't always about adding more energy. Sometimes it's about noticing where energy has become compacted for so long that a person has adapted to the compression. They may call it personality, they may call it discipline, some may call it being strong, some may call it patience, and some may call it awakening. They may call it peace, but underneath, it may be a body state of holding. This is where discernment becomes crucial in spiritual practice. People often leap into expansion, more activation, more breath, more release, more light, more energy. But if the system is still organized around contraction or shutdown, expansion may not feel like freedom. It may feel overwhelming. It may push against places that first need softening, presence, nourishment, and capacity. This is how I understand the deeper wisdom of practices such as pranayama. Prana is life force, but life force needs a body that can receive it, that can contain it. Before energy can safely expand, the vessel, the body, needs care. The nervous system has to learn to trust. The body needs to feel that aliveness will not threaten the structures that once helped it survive. So the inquiry shifts from how do I force this open to what has been held so long that it now identifies with holding, and then to what needs softening, nourishment, and safety before life can enter. This is where spiritual bypassing often happens. People often are taught to move upward before learning how to inhabit downward, to transcend, to expand, open, release, rise above, think differently, breathe bigger, become more positive, identify with the soul before the body has actually been met. And while I deeply value practices like pranayama, I often feel that there is a specific condition the body mind requires before expansion becomes the medicine. The system has to have some capacity to receive more life force. The body has to feel safe enough to soften. The ground has to be present enough to hold what opens. Otherwise, expansion can become another form of override. More breath, more light, more energy, more insight. But the body is still braced, still guarded, compressed, still trying to survive underneath the spiritual language. From my own experience, the body isn't the obstacle to soul evolution. The body is the way through. The mind can witness. The mind can notice when it is trying to override, analyze, or control. But when the state is disturbed, distracted, or ungathered, the mind often takes the reins because the body doesn't yet feel safe enough to lead. For me, the clearing doesn't come from mindset first. It comes when the body feels safe, secure, grounded, nourished, and receptive enough for the mind to stop gripping. This is why, even in astrology, I keep returning to the body. Admetos, Ceres, Sedna, Chiron, Uranus, in different ways, speak directly to the body first. They show where the systems contract, hungers, freezes, shocks, remembers, protects, or waits. They remind me that the soul evolution isn't something that happens by leaving the body behind. It happens as the body becomes safe enough to receive the soul more fully. This began to click for me through my own chart, Admetos in Taurus in the fourth house. So for me, this symbolism becomes very embodied. Taurus brings in the body, the senses, food, money, worth, pleasure, stability, and the need for ground. The fourth house brings in home, roots, ancestry, belonging, early emotional imprinting, and the private places where we ask, do I have ground beneath me? Admetos and Taurus in the fourth can speak to something in the roots that has become compressed, fixed, heavy, or held in place. It may describe a deep ancestral or body memory signature, not necessarily something dramatic on the surface. Taurus and the fourth house can be quiet, private, and very slow. But underneath, there may be inherited patterns around survival, security, silence, endurance, emotional stability, and material safety. This placement can carry messages like, I must hold it together, I must be stable, I must not need too much, I must not disturb the ground, I must create safety before I can soften, I must endure before I can receive. And naming this has helped me understand something I now see as central to my work. Admitos doesn't only show where energy is blocked, it can show where the body learned to hold, where the system became dense or immobilized because holding once felt necessary. In Taurus, that holding can become very physical. It can live in the jaw, the throat, the neck, the shoulders, digestion, belly, hips, lower body, or as a general heaviness in the system. It may also show up as attachment to familiarity, difficulty changing deeply rooted patterns, or needing a long time before the body trusts something new. But there is also a profound gift here. This placement has helped me understand deep somatic patience. It has shown me that true healing cannot be rushed because the body doesn't reorganize through pressure. It reorganizes through repeated safety, rhythm, nourishment, and trust. The shadow is stagnant stability. The medicine is living stability. Stagnant stability says, don't move, don't feel, do not disrupt, just survive. Living stability says, I am rooted enough to move slowly, feel safely, and receive life. That distinction feels central. Slowing down isn't the same as shutting down. Rest isn't the same as disassociation. Stability isn't the same as staying stuck. And maybe this is one of the deepest questions Admitos and Taurus in the fourth has given me. Can the body become home without becoming a hiding place? Because Taurus is Venus ruled, the way through is not only effort, it is also pleasure, beauty, nourishment, touch, sound, music, nature, food, warmth, and the permission to receive. This placement may not heal through harsh discipline, it heals through slow reanimation. The body may need to learn I can be safe and alive at the same time. There is also a current transit piece that feels important. As I am working with this material, transiting Uranus in Gemini is conjunct transiting Admetos in Gemini by a very close orb, and both are opposing my natal Uranus in Sagittarius. So this is not only about my natal Admetos placement, it is also about timing. If Admetos represents what has been compressed, stopped, immobilized, or held in place, Uranus brings awakening, disruption, liberation, rupture, electricity, and sudden movement. So when Uranus meets Admetos by transit, I hear questions like, what is ready to awaken from the frozen place? What compressed truth is beginning to move? What has been held in stillness that now wants language, breath, voice, expression? And because this is happening in Gemini, the symbolism becomes even more connected to communication, thought, speech, teaching, writing, listening, nervous system processing, and the way we translate inner material into language. For me, with this conjunction opposing my natal Uranus in Sagittarius, there is also an activation around truth, meaning, belief, teaching, perspective, and the liberation from old frameworks. Gemini asks, can this be spoken? Can this be named? Can this be translated? Sagittarius asks, what truth is this serving? What wisdom is trying to come through? What larger meaning is being revealed? So, this current transit feels like a live activation of the whole teaching. My natal Admetos in Taurus in the fourth house has helped me understand where the body, roots, ancestry, safety, and belonging can become compressed or held. But this Uranus Admetos transit in Gemini feels like the moment when what has been held in the body begins to find language, an awakening of something that has been waiting for the right conditions to move, speak, and become useful. There are other energies moving with this as well, and I'll explore them more deeply in another episode. For now, I want to keep it simple. Admetos shows what has been held. Uranus awakens it. Gemini gives it language. Ceres asks how it needs care. Sedna reveals what may be ancient, exiled, or beneath language. Pluto supports deeper transformation. So, the wider field feels like an invitation. What has been frozen or compressed may not need to be forced open. It may need the right conditions to begin moving with care, truth, and integrity. There is also a generational layer here. Admitos moves very slowly. So many of us are not only working with it personally, but collectively. Many adults alive now have natal Admitos in Taurus, some in Aries, but a majority in Taurus. So when I speak about Admitos in Taurus, I'm not only speaking about my own chart, I'm also speaking into a wider generational field. For many people, Admetos in Taurus may describe where the body, nervous system, resources, worth, survival patterns, pleasure, receiving, land, food, money, and the need for stability have become compressed or held. It may also speak to the way a whole generation has had to learn endurance through the body. And now, with transiting Uranus conjunct transiting Admetos in Gemini, another layer is being activated. Something that has been held in Taurus, in the body, in survival, in material reality, in the need for safety, may now be seeking language through Gemini, something new. The body memory begins to speak. The frozen place begins to name itself. What was held quietly may start becoming teachable, shareable, translatable, and voiced. Admitos is temporal, slow time, ancient time, the long process, the thing that cannot be rushed. It resists quick fixes, forced breakthroughs, and aggressive release work. Its instruction is simple and stubborn. Go slowly. Go deeply. Build capacity. Let movement return from the inside. Admetos doesn't ask us to abandon the body in order to heal. It asks us to return to the body slowly enough that the body can trust the return. Some patterns took years or generations to form. Some contractions were encoded by repetition. Some holding patterns were created through experiences that had no language at the time. So the return of movement may also need time, not because we are broken, not because healing has to be endless, but because the body often reorganizes through steady, repeated, compassionate participation. So we ask, does this stillness bring me into the body, or does it let me avoid what my body already knows? That distinction matters. Slowing down can restore presence, contact, sensation, and body awareness. Or it can become a protective freeze if someone is unconsciously withdrawing from life force, truth, choice, or expression. Admetos isn't just the symbol of blockage. It names compressed life force, movement that hasn't vanished but has gone underground, a system that learned to hold. The invitation isn't to force it open, it's to listen, to build safety, to bring warmth, to bring patience, to ask what the stillness is protecting, to ask what the body already knows, to ask whether the holding is still needed. State matters, attention matters, embodiment matters. Naming a pattern in a chart is one thing. Noticing the state we bring to it is another. If we meet admetos from urgency, we force movement. If we meet admetos from fear, we make stillness wrong. If we meet admetos from disembodiment, we keep the work in the mind. But if we meet admetos from presence, everything shifts. Instead of asking, how do I get rid of this? We can ask, what state would allow this part of me to soften? What kind of attention would listen without extracting? What kind of embodiment would let movement return from the inside? Healing isn't only insight, it is the conditions that allow insight to be metabolized by the body: safety, warmth, patience, contact, truth, permission. Attention can pressure or it can care. It can demand release or it can create the conditions for return. When I say Admetos names compressed life force, I mean the places that need a different relationship: steadier listening, steadier presence, a truer ground. The work isn't to end the stillness by force. The work is to meet it from love and with care so the body can learn a new response. So I invite you to return your attention to the body. Feel the weight of your feet on the floor. Soften your breath. Place one hand on your belly. Place one hand on your chest. Focus your intention inward. This is the practice. Admetos teaches that not all stillness is peace. Some stillness is wisdom. Some is protection. And some stillness is energy waiting for a yes before it can move again. Thank you for being here. I'll see you on the next one.